The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Good evening and welcome to the Divine Truth on Revolution Radio. This evening I have no co-host, I'm on my own, but we have our lovely guest on this evening, Jolene Seebacher, or JoJo. How are you, JoJo? How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good.
Oh. Sorry, you cut out there a minute.
Oh, I'm fine, thank you, Taj. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Jolene. Hope you're having a lovely day.
I'm having a really wonderful, lovely day, and a new week is on us, and I'm feeling really good about it. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good myself. I'm actually starting a new job next week, so I'm looking forward to going back into work. But yeah, I guess I'll have a little bit less time on my hands, but I'll still be doing the radio show and still be doing a lot of other things. So hopefully it should all work out good for me, I hope.
That's what we do. We flow through the change, and we change through the changes. That's all we can do, Taj.
Yeah. For anyone who's tuning in to listen to Nisra as well, she can't make it this evening. She's had to deal with an emergency at home, but hopefully everything's okay with her. But we'll start the show, JoJo, with I know you've been on Revolution Radio before, but you've never actually been on my show, even though I've interviewed you as part of my YouTube channel. This is the first time. I can't actually believe it's taken me this long to actually get you on my radio show, but I know you're really busy, and I've had I've got a lot of guests lined up on my show. But for any of our listeners who may not have come across your work, do you want to give like a brief sort of explanation, maybe a bit about your background, and the type of work that you actually do?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me on the official Divine Truth. It's an honor to be here, supporting you all and loving you all. My name is Jolene JoJo Seebacher. I was born in 1965 with pretty amazing supernatural abilities, and I was put into a pharmaceutical program associated with the military and government, and kind of built with my supernatural abilities and medication, including injections and things of that nature. The trauma that I had suffered took me into some really, horrible experiences with satanic ritual abuse and sexualized torture, excuse me, but into testing programs with these psychic supernatural abilities. It led me into projects without my consent as a child and prepubescent teenager throughout what I believe is the Atticus Institute in the 1970s, and then something I call the Plum Island Girls, which seems to be a division of this Montauk Boys thing. I had no idea there were boys associated with this program until I came out with my story about 3 years ago. Some of my career took me into the Gulf War, where I remote viewed for soldiers and did some spy work and psychic analyzing kind of work. And I've got a really colorful life. Grew up as a teenager on Sepulveda Boulevard, about 4 blocks down from Max Spears. I've been trying to speak about satanic ritual abuse and missing and exploited children since I've been about 6 years old. And my career kind of took me into the MySpace days. In early 2000, I became pretty famous as a certified master psychic, and what I used to call psychic soul counseling. Took me into a career with some TV pilots on MTV and things like that, and I developed a business name called Spiritual Life Journeys, and that took me into counseling and education on how to de- and reprogram your brain, your mind control. doing assessments for other people to see if they might have suffered some program or project kind of survivorship. I teach everything from a level of soul healing through the self-healing, through mental, spiritual, physical, thoughts, emotion, behavior. I teach fundamentals called foundation based on energy cleaning, energy mastery, everything to teach supernatural abilities, how to develop them, enhance them, use them, things about dream time training, Jungian dream analysis, and I help people with their kind of soul purpose and how to change their lives. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. It's a big nutshell.
Right, yeah. So what kind of what kind of people would come to you for help? Like what kind of problems do they have when they come to you? If you could give like a few examples of the kind of work that you do.
Well, originally I developed this soul healing modality back in the early 2000s, and people would come to me for psychic soul healing. I could hear their thoughts, I can hear their feelings, I can feel their feelings as well, but I hear them more than I feel them, and I can hear this voice that I used to call the God voice, since I've been a little kid. So I started working with awakened people, newly awakened people, but throughout my life, I've also worked with regular people, battered women, abused women of narcissism. So when I started really speaking out about my MK Ultra days, I began counseling and educating targeted individuals, experiencers, people who have been traumatized through alien abductions or love fight relationships. I do work with program survivors who know that they're a survivor of a hidden, military program. I help people who think they might have been involved. I give them assessments. And then I still work with normal people. I still work with everyday people, including parents, kids who have supernatural abilities and they're scared. They're scared of them. So it's an array of people, Taj. I'm kind of a people person.
So it's basically like I guess you're sort of a counselor to a certain extent, but you also, because of your abilities, you can help people on a higher level than most sort of counselors can.
Right. I have a degree in Jungian psychology. I have certifications and licenses in everything from grief counseling, addiction, spiritual counseling, life coaching, spiritual life coaching. I mean, an array of things, everything from healing, the aura, color healing, crystal healing. I have so many certifications, it's not funny. I spent a lot of money on education, but I've also spent my entire life on research about the mind and the soul and the heart's will. So it all just really kind of came together just several years ago, incorporating targeted individuals. I'd always worked with experiencers. I mean, aliens were just never anything, abnormal throughout my career. But, today, mainstream, people are talking about alien abduction and these love bite relationships. I've learned a lot through all of my clients, and I'm not only counseling them, Tajinder, I'm teaching them these foundations so they can change their lives as well as their selves, their minds, their behavior, their emotions. So it's really one-on-one personalized counseling with the education of these foundations I teach.
Right. Are you an experiencer yourself?
I am through the Plum Island days. I've never been abducted, but I certainly have had my share of these love bite relationships, which are a very tumultuous relationship, whether it's male or female. There's this strange attraction for the individual. You don't even understand why you're attracted to the person. They might not even be the type you'd be attracted to, but it's this uncanny want and desire to be with this person. And that person might come in very kind at first, but they are pretty much oversold by a Draco type being, and that thing in them can really abuse the individual, can treat them with low self-worth, can even, take their jobs, their friends, their family, their finances. Most people who survive an alien love bite, it's very similar to a handler's relationship. It's very, makes you very broken. And I help teach modules for women, how to learn to speak up again, how to learn to trust themselves again. Even the men get it just as bad as the women. So
do you want to just briefly explain for our listeners what the love bite is and how that affects people?
A lot of times I have found a correlation with people who have had a UFO sighting or some kind of dream or experience with an alien. And then maybe within a year, a relationship shows up. Now, it's not always like that. I mean, my love bite relationships were kind of compromised by the handler. That was the husband of mine. I've been through 3 very vicious relationships that were love bite handler type. So either way, a love bite would be a very narcissistic person, someone who controls you in every way. They make up your mind for you. They take your decision making away. They degrade you. They make you feel bad about yourself. And they can rob you from every supporting relationship that you have in your life. You are hated or berated, and there's something inside of you that makes you start to wither away, but you're holding on to a part of yourself that's saying, wait a minute, they're wrong. I know they're wrong. And you have no power anymore because they've really taken that from you. Now, a handler would be very similar to that, but it's more directive based with the handler. It's more duplicitous with the handler, where I don't know if there's a Draco interference in a handler or not. I mean, I'm not that kind of expert I'm not an expert on even explaining the alien love bite. That's Eve Lorgan, her expertise,
Yeah. This also links a little bit, I guess, to things like psychic vampires. And I've had, my experience of psychic vampires in past relationships. And I think it is sort of linked in a way to the alien love bite. The kind of people who come into your life are the kind of people who drain you energetically and emotionally and financially and on every level, so I don't know why it is. I think it's almost like they know who to attach to. If you have a certain vibration about you, a good energy about you, they're almost attracted to those type of people. I don't know if that's what you found as well.
Much so, yes. In fact, the psychic vampire usually has some demons inside of that person or demons attached to that person. Demons match frequencies in people. Psychic vampires can be very narcissistic, Taj. They'll never have the ability to communicate or reason with you. There is also the aspect we have to remember of artificial intelligence and this hive mind and mind control technology through patents like TVs and Wi-Fi and EMP, pulse technology. We do have different things affecting people's behavior. So maybe like a troll type activity, that type of psychic vampire would be more related on the nano artificial intelligence side, where they're so mind controlled through nanotechnology inserted into their, whether they breathed it in through a chemtrail, eaten it through GMOs, or through a patent, through a TV. That would be a little bit different from psychic vampirism. That's the same type of effect that these controllers do want. We have to remember all of these controllers, these evil, corrupt people, they're all delving in Satanism, blood sacrifice, and their agendas are virtually the same. They want to drain us of our negative emotions, negative thoughts. They feed on that, Taj. They feed on that energy of our negative, sad thoughts, our depression, our rage, our, battles, screaming at each other. So AI in an individual or a troll type tech mentality would be different, but similar.
Yeah, I understand, but most people don't understand that even on this type of thing, the person doesn't have to be like physically present with you. It can be done like over the internet, over chat rooms and and that type of thing as well, especially something like Facebook. I found that Facebook does have a lot of negative aspects to it, where people, are trolled and attacked and getting stalked and that type of thing. And that's also, linked to this as well.
Right.
You don't have to have that person physically in your life for them to drain energy from you, is what I'm trying to say.
Very true. Now, if everything that I teach goes upon the laws of the universe, or what's called the 7 Hermetic Principles, everything is energy, Taj. We are energy. We're talking it. We're thinking it. We sit on a couch. The couch is energy. Just because we go on Facebook does not mean there's not an energy exchange. The same with watching a YouTube video, maybe on Masons or Illuminati. That's some heavy energy we're watching. So what do we do about disconnecting from the energy from social media or YouTube, or even just a telephone call with a sibling that you maybe have negative feelings for? What I want to teach people is, because everything is energy, we have to clean that energy. So when you get off Facebook, clean your energy off of it. Clean those attachments off your beautiful self. Everybody washes their hands. We wash our food. We wash our clothes. We need to wash our energy. It's very real. Because we can't see it and we're typing doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That is open psychic warfare for anybody to attack you. So let's say you get off Facebook and you're thinking of, somebody that said something derogatory to you. That would be like a psychic attack. You're thinking a thought. You might be having a beautiful night, and then boom, all of a sudden you're thinking about something negative somebody said. That's exactly what you're referring to. Energy coming into your mind and giving you that thought. And I hope that makes sense, because really we have to be so proactive about this.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about your 5 foundations work, and how does that help people?
Sure. My foundations are the basis for whether you're newly awakened or already awakened, whether you're master level or a beginner level. It's all based on energy. There's several forms of energy. The first is called internal energy. Internal is everything about yourself. It's your thoughts, your thought patterns, your thought chatter, your thought forms, your fears, your worries, anxieties, your weaknesses in your behavior or emotions, and something I call career or relationship blocks, destiny blocks. Then there's external energy. We talk about people, psychic vampires, trolls, negative family, and all of their internal energy. We're talking about stores, hospitals, public places filled with people. Then we have the external demonic forces, AI forces, just any kind of negative extraterrestrial force, machinery. So we have different types of internal energy and different types of external energy affecting our lives. I teach 5 foundations. So the first is working with opposing frequencies. Now, everything is energy, and energy is basically a form of sound or light. So we use these tones and frequencies to work for us and to fight against some of the technology. So the first foundation is based on tones and power words and chanting and beautiful solfeggios based on the true wheel, not what's taught online. And then the opposing frequencies would be tones to listen to for artificial intelligence or neural remote monitoring or V2K or pitch tones in your ears or just more Jolene type symptoms. So it's based upon frequency. And even in, the older civilizations, I mean, we could predate this, Egypt and beyond, they used tones for healing, for levitating, for starting fire, for, remarkable things. So frequency is a real important thing.
Yeah,
right?
a lot of that knowledge and technology has been lost, I think, and replaced with almost like a false, things like pharmaceuticals and technology. Like people think that the technology we have at the moment is the most advanced we've ever had in human history, but I would tend to disagree with that. I think that we've been here before, on this journey. We've had far more advanced technology in the past than we have now, and for whatever reason you know we failed or we destroyed ourselves or something catastrophic happened. People talk about stuff like Atlantis and Egypt and places like that, where they obviously had some kind of ancient technology, but what happened to it? What happened to the people who created it?
Taj, I really believe that technology still exists. I saw some of it on Plum Island. I know some of the Montauk survivors have described similar technology. I I think we've been there. Survivor the average survivorship of a civilization is about 250 years, and then they kind of fall. Empires fall in about 200 to 300 years, whether it's the Greek Empire, Roman Empire, and here we are today. My country, the United States, has been in effect over 240 years. I don't think we've perfected anything between economics and technology. I mean, we still have world famine. We have such poor people. The distribution of wealth is just corrupt. We haven't gotten something right yet, and I don't know if it's technology related. I think it's more human condition related, and I think we're being completely enslaved by the technology that's hidden from us, that's controlling some of this negative behavior. I believe these empires in place are doing harm to us people, making us angry, making us depressed, making us oppressed, making us poor. And we were never meant to live this way. So we really need a shift in not just government and not just money. We need a shift in the human condition to get back to, compassion and love and joy again. I mean, we were born to be happy. We weren't born to be depressed or angry, so I believe they hide a lot of this tech.
Yeah, I think we almost sort of need a shift in human consciousness, I would say. I think the way that things are at the moment, more people need to wake up and realize what's going on. I think there are a lot of people, like us, people who listen to this show, who do know what's going on and do know, can try and do something about it, but we're in the minority, I think.
Sure. But there's a difference between having knowledge, doing research versus being awakened. I think New Age has really kind of distorted what awakening and what ascension is. So awakening is definitely waking up to knowing that, we've been lied about education, history, genetics, religion, even language, education, everything. But awakening is also an awakening of yourself. Who are you? What about you as an individual? Do you like? What don't you like? What is it that needs change in you to continue this awakening? The ascension is this missing part. The more the individual works on themselves, learns better behavior, learns different thought pattern, learns different reaction pattern, that's where ascension happens. Your soul ascends, your heart lifts, your pineal gland opens more. And it's different than having knowledge. All the knowledge becomes easily available to you. And it's a quest, it's a lifetime kind of quest. But a person with a lot of knowledge can be a dangerous person if they're not changing or evolving inwardly,
Yeah, I think even people who are in the awake community and have a lot of knowledge, but may not necessarily have, a good understanding of things like the ascension. Maybe, this is where we go into things like disinformation, but they may not necessarily even know that they are giving out disinformation. For them, it might be the right path or journey for them. That may not necessarily be the same case for everybody. I think everybody is different. You can't sort of like, it's not like a cookie cutter solution for everybody.
Well, the beauty of it is we are all different, and whatever space that we're in, whether we're trying to do the right thing and giving wrong information. I mean, back when the New Age community started, I mean, everybody was, grasping for what was working, what did and what didn't work. And some people are doing Reiki and, whatever they're doing, crystal healing, color healing. It's taken each of us to find our own little place. And, I've made mistakes along the way. I think we all have. And, even my 5 foundations, I mean, if I get presented new information, maybe I'll have to change them. My foundations are based on energy, frequency, and water. But if something, comes to my knowledge, more information, and I'm teaching something incorrectly, you better believe I'm going to, change my structure. I think we all have opportunity, and it makes us all so diversely beautiful,
Yeah, I think the internet has had a lot to do with it, because the amount of information that's available on the internet now, it's almost like, where do you go? Where do you look to find out, what is the right place to go for good information? And, I mean, I think a lot of the stuff online, you're probably about 70-80% disinformation, maybe only 20% is actually of any use to anybody, I think. Especially things like YouTube. I mean, I don't even look on YouTube anymore, because a lot of it is ridiculous, I think, anyway.
I agree, Taj. Now we have this huge disinformation act in play between, Obama leaving office. I mean, the Bilderbergs just had a huge meeting in June, and they brought in Google and Microsoft and AT&T and all of these news conglomerates. So we know news on the internet is corrupt.
Yeah.
Where I come in, and I've been teaching for 17 years, that it's about self-healing. I'm not knocking any healer out there. Believe me, I think everybody needs guidance and help with everything they could possibly get help with. But what I really believe is it comes down to your own self-healing, whether you're going to get a nutritionist to help you with that, or somebody to teach you meditation, somebody to teach you energy cleaning or energy mastery. I believe it's a self-healing. Heal those negative thoughts, heal those brain patterns, those thought patterns, heal the negative emotions, heal the negative behavior or the reactions. Self-healing is what I will always stand firm in. And I really hope it's the new paradigm for the millennium. I mean, that's the book I'm writing, and those are the foundations I'm teaching. And, frequencies, is working with opposing frequencies is just one of the 5 foundations. So, there's so many forms. Pardon me, I'm sorry. There's so many forms of self-healing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they come to like healers and people like that because they want you to heal them, but it doesn't really work like that. You can give them advice and show them the right way, but they have to do the work themselves, to heal themselves, don't they?
I mean, what if you have a drug addiction and that demon's on your back, that monkey demon on your back, the drug addiction? You've got to heal that demon in yourself. You've got grieving and bereaving, demonic energies around you, keeping you oppressed. You've got to relieve your own afflictions. And we can get help for that, though. People out there are educating and showing us how to solve these problems, whether it is through nutrition or cleansing your aura, or, doing energy work on you, even going to a acupuncturist, or using all kinds of devices, whether it's scalar technology or orgonite. There's plenty out there to assist us, and a lot of this stuff is free. I mean, I teach stuff that's free, so I like it free.
Yeah, I agree. We were talking, I think it was yesterday, about some of the work that you do. You do like an assessment where you go through is it like 90 questions,
I do.
Can you sort of, you don't necessarily have to go through all the 90 questions, but can you give an idea of why you do that assessment? What are you trying to get out of that? What are you trying to find? What information, do you need basically to help someone?
Well, first of all, being a very ethical professional, we take a code of ethics. We even have to write our own ethical clauses. So as a professional, if somebody were to come to me on Facebook and ask me a question, JoJo, I have these bad dreams and I don't know what to do about it. As a professional, I can't even ethically answer that question without getting a background on someone. Maybe those dreams have been repetitive. Maybe they're caused by a trauma from the childhood they're not even aware is related to that experience. So this assessment session is literally like a 4 to 5 hour session. It consists of over 90 questions now, depending on how the person answers it. It determines the type of abuse that they've gone through, their personal history, their family history, any type of groups that they've ever been involved in, or their families, whether it's military, government, or just a club, even Knights of Columbus, Daughters of Job, whatever. I ask about any experiences as a child that were paranormal. Did they have near-death experiences? Were they ever had surgeries or taken medicine young? What kind of birthmarks, or even right down to have they ever suffered sleep paralysis? I ask questions about tattoos, Ouija boards, different types of beings that they might have seen, and I always ask about shadow beings. I ask about any experiences with the alien or UFO kind of stuff. I also ask questions relating to these programs, with Monarch and satanic ritual abuse, anything from sexual abuse to promiscuity to hypersexuality, pornography, night terrors, feelings of being watched. I mean, these questions are really to determine if the person may or may not have been through programming, and also to help them connect dots, as well as have what's called an awake regression. They are able, by the middle of my session, to start remembering things that they haven't thought of in decades, or they forgot about for decades. And the regression continues after we get off the phone. So it can continue for months. They could have flashes of memory. They could have dreams of experiences that they'd forgotten. And they could continue to have regression. So they journal everything from, do they remember black and white floors, spiral staircases, all kinds of fantastic things that help the client put answers together for them. I mean, sometimes they're right in front of the person and they didn't see the connections. So the assessment is really a great way. It also helps the person determine, wow, I can't believe I really know my soul's purpose. I've never really thought about it that way, but I've always wanted that. Oh my God, they're so happy. So we can also determine their psychic abilities in that assessment as well, whether they want to develop them, enhance them. It's really easygoing. The person is safe with me. They have to sign all these non-disclosure and confidentiality things so they feel safe. Our sessions are so private, and it's really one-on-one. And by the second session, it's fun now. It's fun to teach them the foundations, and they have a zest that they want to change different things in their lives. So it's kind of fun to go through a couple of sessions with me to learn the foundations.
Right. So in a way, I guess you could say what you're trying to do with the 90 questions, you're trying to break through the layers of programming to almost like deprogram them in a way, I guess, because they've been through a lifetime of programming, by the school system, by the government, by media and such, that you have to break down through all those layers before you can even get to any real work.
Exactly, but I don't think it actually breaks down the mind control. Because when I work with the person one-on-one, every person has it, Taj, whether we want to admit it or not. We break down, excuse me, that each person thinks so differently. They each have different fears and worries and anxieties. They all have one in common. It's usually money is really, everybody's always worried about money, relationships, but each person has different weaknesses, different destiny blocks, different types of problems. So their deprogramming is done by themselves. That is with my third foundation called Peptide Pep Talk. That's actually a bunch of self-talk using certain brain waves. The assessment session is just an availability for the client to have their own control over regressed memories that help them connect the dots, puzzle pieces together, gives them answers for themselves. I'm not doing anything but asking the questions, and they're actually doing their own memory recall, which is, I think it really opens up the synopsis of the brain. When we first start the questions, it's yes and no answers, so the brain calibrates. So by the middle of the session, then they start remembering, oh my God, I remember this when I was 4. Oh my God, I remember this when I was 7. Oh, I haven't thought of this in 20 years, JoJo. So they're doing the work in their own brain to regress themselves, and they're in full control over it. There's no hypnotherapy, there's no hypnotics. They're awake, and we're both, together. So it's safe, and it continues when we get off the phone. So they stay in contact with me and they ask me questions, and I'm by their side once they become a student.
So it's basically quite it's a long process. I mean, from the moment you've asked them the 90 questions, how long would it take for you to say, would it take weeks or months for you to work out what they need or how to help them? How quick is that process, or is it just an ongoing process?
Excellent question. It depends how fast the person wants changes. I had one student start in October and her life was completely changed by January. I had another person start in October and I think she might be on her 4th, 5th session. It takes about 4 to 5 sessions completely. You can spread them out as far as you want. You can put them in blocks. Some people go on to mastery level stuff. It's at the person's desire to want changes. So if they want, fast changes, they work hard. They do a block with me. A block would be like 3 sessions in a row. I give discounted rates for blocks. My sessions are $65. The assessment session is $110. But I do blocks. I do 3 blocks for $195, and it's altogether about 5-hour sessions per piece, 4 to 5 hours a piece. So they're long sessions, but they go fast, and your notebook becomes your best friend. I mean, it'll give you everything to protect yourself, to deprogram, to reprogram, to just have life changes, physical changes as well. I mean, I've had women lose weight, just by talking to themselves. So, this is personalized. Whatever the personal struggles are, we work on. We get very intimate, and my clients, that's not even a good name for them because they're like family. We are family. I mean, each one of my clients and students has become family to me. They're beautiful friends and family. I love them all.
Okay, I want to move on to another subject. I've seen you talk about a lot on Facebook, the satanic ritual abuse calendar. These are basically dates throughout the year where certain rituals are performed. Like a common one is something like Halloween. That's quite a common one. But there are also dates throughout the year, every month, where certain rituals are performed, like satanic rituals on. It can be on anything like cosmic alignments and eclipses, lunar eclipses, solar eclipses, or just ritual dates. Do you want to explain what they actually do on these ritual dates?
Well, there are several calendars that you can go online and look at. Originally, this was set up to, this was set up to keep control of the elites, to keep the blood magic going, to feed whatever these Draco Anunnaki type beings are, these ancient bloodlines, these ancient Egyptian and Mayan bloodlines, etc., even Atlantean bloodlines. These are actual dates that are your normal holidays: Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, but they're all based on something that are completely opposite of what we're celebrating. Family, friends. This is a perverse thing, and the Satanic Ritual Abuse Calendar was created by a group of Satanists to infuse a 6 and 7 week cycle into humanity. So on the 13th week, it would cause the chaos, it would cause the rebellion or the destruction, whatever that they wanted, whether it was a blood sacrifice week or a sex magic week. These are spell castings used against the entire population. Now, eons ago, with the satanic and doctrine and Bibles and so on, these people had placed a Satanist throughout America anyway. I'm not certain about England. I'm not the expert over there. But in America, a Satanist was brought into every town, every small town in the United States. They're almost like sleeper cells, but they're not sleeper cells. So these people are doing rituals every day to, now I'm not saying all pagans are evil, all people who practice witchcraft are evil. I'm talking about the satanic ones who serve Satan and all of these other evil deities. These people want power. They want to feed off of our energy. So they may cast a spell for your region. There might be a demon assigned to your region or your county or your state or whatever, your segment, whatever they're called in each country. So they can imbue depression, gang war, sexual perversion, murder, rapes. So it can feed these demons. And it seems so unrealistic, but it is happening in every town. Every town has covens or sectors, regions, covens of people, and these people are not meaning well. They're killing animals, killing babies, and making us more depressed, more angry, more erratic, more trolling, more acceptable to no empathy. I mean, lack of empathy. So it's really kind of a frightening thing. But this is where, yourself comes in. Pardon? I'm sorry, Taj, did you say something?
No, I didn't say anything, no.
Oh, I'm sorry. I could have sworn I heard you say something. But nonetheless, Taj, this is done on a daily basis. Now, the Satanic Ritual Abuse Calendar is set up on a 6, 7, and 13-week cycle. There are plenty of former Satanists out there that can explain each of these rituals or each of these holidays that we're celebrating. So, sometimes knowledge can be a really scary thing, and it's unfortunately driven me not to celebrate any holidays, which is, I don't have family here in my state anyway, but it is kind of sad how we're told, it's these beautiful things, and you find out what it's really about, and it's really shattering. It can shatter a person.
Yeah. I mean, most people, this would be beyond most people's understanding, that there are people, Satanists or whatever you want to call them, who perform these rituals. But it sort of reminds me of a video I saw a while ago about a guy, I think he may have been part of a satanic group, but he came out of the group and he explained what they actually did. And he even said, one evening I spent the night, I was sat in my room talking to the devil. and we were having I was having a conversation with the devil, and he explained that there are these groups throughout America. He's in charge of a group, so it'll be like he'll be in charge of a city or a part of a city, and he'll have demons who he commands. You
Oh,
know, and
that's
he can
exactly
command.
what I'm talking about. They put principalities of these demons around different regions to
Yeah,
cause this. So very
yeah,
true.
yeah, and he commands these demons to do whatever the devil's bidding, I guess, in a way. So they get commands down, come down from wherever, and he helps them do what they need to do, accomplish whatever agenda they want to accomplish. So he would go out and he would make people murder each other. He would make people commit suicide. He would, you
That's
know,
true.
make people addicted to drugs. He would, do all these kind of things, so they can drain these people of energy. And
Because you see out at the shopping mall or the supermarket, and God forbid you piss off a Satanist, they can put a casting on you to fall down the stairs or to stick a gun in your mouth or whatever. Just like you were explaining,
yeah,
these are sick-minded. Now, I'm not saying um, you know there is practical magic. There is beautiful earth magic. There's beautiful things about paganism, and I just find the evil corrupt side. These are not only calling in the devil, they're calling in legions. I don't even like to mention names, but they're calling in different deities and legions of demons names, and I prefer not to mention those names because just even mentioning them, you sort of kind of give it a power. um, this is really where fear can take over a person. Now, everybody is scared to be hexed or spell casted, and honestly, it's probably one of the easiest things to overcome if you have this faith in yourself that you are untouchable and not going to fear that depression, or you're not going to allow that depression, you're not going to allow those thoughts in you. um, you know Everybody has this potential in them to supersede over anything. Now we own this spark of God inside of our body. I teach it as God, source, soul, self. It's the very first thing I teach every student. And having faith in that power, I mean, what more protection could you want? What more strength could you want? And once you know how to really listen to it, you really can conquer anything from a demonic attack to a troll. And it all comes down to this faith and changing in yourself. So, yeah, it's scary stuff, but we can
yeah,
beat it.
yeah. I think this guy, even though he had left this group, he was almost like in the video they were like driving around town. And he was saying, "Oh, I did this over here. That guy, I got that guy murdered in that building, and I did." He was like almost proud of what he had done because of the power he had over people. And
Wow.
I think, in a way, power does corrupt. And ultimate power corrupts ultimately, as they say. But it is like, people who are in a vulnerable position, and that you offer them this, money, wealth, power, they'll take it. Most 9 times out of 10, most people will take it. That's the unfortunate, that's where we are now in society, unfortunately.
It is true. We even have Illuminati scouts out there trying to recruit people. I have a friend right now who was not struggling, but he was really kind of angry about it. But they were trying to recruit him for this quote organization that would remain nameless. And he was trying to get advice on what to look for and what kind of questions to ask this guy. And, I mean, this is a sickness. The Illuminati will offer a person $300,000 just to join. Um, I think money can corrupt an individual. I think even notoriety can. One thing that I have to check, and all people speaking on the circuit need to completely always check themselves. It's not the notoriety that matters. And to others it is, Taj. They want the money. They want the comic books. They want the TV shows. I'd rather just come natural. When I did the History Channel, I got paid $200. I don't care about the money. I don't care about the notoriety, but it is a very tempting thing to a young person. I mean, I think, even my own daughter would probably be tempted if somebody waved $300,000 in front of her and said, hey, you want to join this organization? I'll give you, $300K to come. Some people just are so desperate, they don't know what they're joining. And then by the time they sign the dotted line, they don't realize they're stuck.
We're going to go to a break in a couple of minutes, but we're going to be taking questions in the second hour. So if you want to ask Jolene any questions, I believe you can call in to Studio A. The number is 347-688-2902. That's the number to call into Studio A. Or you can go to freedomslips.com and click on the chat section. And I am monitoring the chat room tonight, so if you want to pose any questions to Jolene, please put your questions in capital letters so I can see them easily. Or you can call that number. That number again is 347-688-2902. I'm just checking with a couple of people that number is actually working. But if you can't get through on the number, just join the chat room and you can pose any questions. Okay. Yeah, I think the music's going to come in any minute, Jolene, but it's been an interesting conversation. The first hour we've covered a lot. I know there's a few other topics you want to talk about, so if we don't have too many questions, I can still there's a few other topics I want to cover in the second hour anyway.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's interesting with the corruption thing because I mean, this is a weird thing, I have had a couple of emails from people saying they're from the Illuminati, and if I wanted to join, I could join, and I would have all this money and power and wealth. Some of them I think are maybe scams, but I'm not too sure. Like the wording in some of the emails is very strange. It's not like how a normal person will talk, but I don't know if you've had anything like that where you've been asked to join the Illuminati.
No, I never have, but I have this friend who has been requested, and they do write these strange letters with strange wording. So I believe those are more of the authentic ones than some of the frauds coming in. You'll have, look, they're all over Facebook. I mean, whoop,
It's good timing. There comes the music, and we'll be back in a few minutes. If you want to call into the show, then please do so, or join the chat room. We're back in a few minutes. Thanks.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
And welcome back to The Divine Truth on Revolution Radio with my lovely guest this evening, Jolene Seebacher. Before we continue with the show, I just need to remind you that Revolution Radio is a listener-supported station. We do rely on your donations to keep us on air, so please do go to freedomslips.com and go to the Support Us section if you would like to make a donation. You can make a one-off donation, or you can join our monthly support club where you can make a monthly donation starting at only $10. Where you can buy one of our seed packs. Our seed packs start at only $60 and contain non-GMO, non-hybrid heirloom seeds Those are about $60, $100, and $200. You can also get access to the Revolution Radio archive, where you can listen to my previous shows as well as all of the other hosts' previous shows for only $5 a month. Okay, and then we'll continue with the show now with Jolene. Are you still here?
I'm here. Thank you.
Hi. Okay, I'm just trying to work out how people can call into the show, but apparently the number, someone's calling the number right now, but I've got no idea how to answer it, so
Oh, okay.
it's the first time I've done a call-in show, but it's not working too well. But
let's give it a whirl. Let's take our time and we'll see what happens. I posted the phone number on my wall, so
all right, cool. It's okay. I'm monitoring the chat room and I have some questions. So let's start off with some of these questions from the chat room first. Okay. Well, the first question is, can you please ask JoJo the benefits of group work over individual work?
Well, I'll tell you, group work is a really wonderful thing to do because you not only find camaraderie, many of us don't have family left, we're isolated, so group therapy is a wonderful aspect. I'd recommend it along with personal therapy. I have a private group on Facebook where those people can have safe friendships, for instance, somebody you can trust that's going to believe you, support you, love you through it. So group is a very powerful thing, but I do recommend it along with personalized as well.
Okay. Next question. Okay, this is a bit of a weird one. Okay, the question is, I went out with a super soldier and I could not remove what I call a demon from them because he would have been nothing. I tried to replace the demon with me rather than himself. Was it wrong that I left him like that?
I think the first thing is, if it's a she, I would say the first thing is you can't pull that demon from that person. He's got to come to the acceptance that he's under mind control and begin working on his own deprogramming so he can face whatever that demon is. I think you would be taking on a huge responsibility trying to take on that demon for yourself because it could cause you a lot of danger, not only emotionally, mentally, sleep-wise, health-wise. I don't think there's any guilt she should hold whatsoever. She did it in love, it sounds like, and she tried the best, and we can only be responsible for ourselves. So she should let go of the guilt and know that she did the best she could and for him to heal on his own. And if they're meant to be together, they'll be able to work it out. He'd want to have to get help though. And
he would have wanted to get the help if she had to do all the work. It doesn't really work like that, does it really? But
I would recommend her to clean her energy as well. Get rid of any attachments from him. Clean those attachments off of her, even if it's just jumping in the shower and claiming no more attachments on her. She tried to attempt something very dangerous. So sounds like she has a lot of love, but we can only fix ourselves.
Yeah, I think even trying to when you're interacting with things like demons, you have to be very careful. Not everyone can.
No, you have to shield.
You have to protect yourself, shield yourself, and when interacting with demons, they can be very deceptive and try and get into you, kind of thing. So you have to be very careful with that.
Very much so. Those demons can also come to you in your dreams. They can impersonate people. They can impersonate loved ones, celebrities. They could do damage in a friend, a child, for instance, your neighbor. It takes a lot for somebody who works with demons. They have to know at least 12-dimensional shielding. They've got to know energy cleaning protocols. I mean, they've got to understand demonology to even be working with demons. So, she was very brave to even attempt that, but I would highly urge, she remove the attachments off of her. What a lovely girl to even try to attempt doing that. It sounds like she had a lot of love for this person, but she definitely removed that guilt.
Okay, the next question. How can we further connect with those as a collective or a whole? Is Jolene establishing some kind of retreat? and or meetings where many can come together who are like-minded?
That's a great question. Actually, I'm taking the month of August off because my schedule has been so inundated. What I plan to come back in September is doing a lot of group phone calls with students. Unfortunately, you have to go through an assessment session because I have to make sure you're safe to be with everybody else that's been through it. And not everybody goes into these groups. You have to really be screened, so I know you're not a abusive person, you're not going to harm anybody, and you can have true friendship in these groups. They will begin in September, and my whole syllabus is changing over. So yes, that is going to happen. And in the meantime, I do know Misha Johnston. She runs a website called Starseed Awakening. She has a group for MK Ultra and MeLab people. She takes via donation. It's like a $5 donation, and it's a group kind of talking if somebody wants to go right away.
Yeah, I know Misha. I always get like notifications of her events on Facebook. I think I'm on one of her groups. I think I always get notifications of the group events that she holds regularly.
Yeah. Now, the group phone calls that I'm going to be hosting in September, there'll be different levels of phone calls, be teaching calls for students that don't have all 5 foundations. So we'll be going over each foundation. And then there'll be, groups where we can share, what trials we're going through and give solutions for those traumas or trials for the week. So I hope to be hosting them weekly or bi-weekly. They're welcome to contact me on private messenger. I'll be answering all of them after August 3rd.
Okay. Okay, the next question, I'm not entirely sure I understand it, but hopefully you can. What are her thoughts working with the Kabbalah and Hebrew letters, keys in combinations of usage towards manifestation?
What are my faults? Is that what it says?
Your thoughts? What are your thoughts of working with the Kabbalah and Hebrew letters towards manifestation?
I feel that people should draw their own sigils. I'm not an expert in those areas. I would recommend that person do deep research, get with an expert, and at least know which ones they're drawing in. I'm all about healing and protection. If you heal what's wrong, it will manifest. So if somebody has something broken in a career, for instance, maybe they're not getting enough clientele to them, what is causing that breakage? Is it that they don't trust you or they don't accept your information? You've got to heal the trust or heal the acceptance, and then the manifestation comes. I'm not all about manifestation magic whatsoever, so I'm probably the wrong person to ask, but I don't want to condone anybody for their path either. I would urge that individual find an expert on the Hebrew sigils and letters and know exactly what they're getting into. There's a book by Franz Barden. It's called Initiation into Hermetics, and anybody messing with it needs to know how responsible you are once you open that gate. So please read that book and understand what you're doing before you go and do it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's another area you have to be careful with, isn't it, with sigils?
Yeah, sigil work, anything without knowledge, and you go and attempt it, just like you're, maybe like a simple spell or a circle binding. If you have never done it before, you must get expert advice before delving into any of this by yourself. Now, I do recommend drawing your own sigils for yourself and sometimes sending them into the bardo to do your bidding, or setting protection on. I write them on my skin like little tattoos for protection, for healing, but never, ever for gain, ever. I mean, that's magic 101. You don't do for gain, you do for healing and protection.
Yeah, I've been sent a few sigils by individuals, and recently I went to see Vanessa at a conference, and she showed me Max had made some notes just before he passed away, and she had his notebook, and he had some sigils in there, with the initials of people who, you know, were close to him.
Right.
And they were basically a protection sigils to protect the people that he loved and were close to him. But you can also get sigils that do the opposite, that actually harm people.
Yeah.
So you have to know.
Last year, somebody made a sigil for me, and he sent it to a bunch of different people, and we all had tumultuous, terrible events that week from that sigil. He had created it with dark forces, even admitting it to several of us. So it's not wise to use someone else's sigil. It's similar to buying a bookstore magic book. If you go and do the magic out of that Barnes and Noble's book, you're really doing the spell casting of that author. You're giving her or him the power. This is real deep stuff I don't mess with. I'm all about self-healing and self-protection, because if you can do both of those, then the gain and the manifestation comes.
Yeah.
I'm the wrong person to ask. I'm so sorry, caller.
That's okay. Okay, the next question. The extraordinary powers that MK Ultra people have, is it true? However, do you think that is a rise in consciousness? So do you think the powers that people are getting, these abilities, are down to MK Ultra, or is it just due to the rise in consciousness of people?
That's a really great question. I'm glad that person asked. My whole life, I've been telling people everybody have these abilities. Everyone has psychic intuition. Everyone has empathy, which is a form of psychic ability. It's feeling. Everybody has kinesis skills. Everybody has telepathic skills. I believe the MK Ultra programming was more for to exhibit alters in people to go and do these illicit, non-consensual acts of violence, or whatever it's been throughout anybody's career. With me being a remote viewer, an analyst, and a spy, some people are sent to be assassins. I believe that's a different type of completely different subject than a person having natural abilities. I wrote a book in 2013, and I almost finished it, and I was robbed in 2015. It was all about supernatural development, enhancement, and implementation of these hundreds of abilities we have. Every one of us have it, and that is our power. That is the reason why these controllers, these evil elite people, want to oppress us in our mind. They want to shut that pineal gland down and your heart's will to be so weakened by sadness or anger that we're not using these abilities. So, brilliant, brilliant question. Thank you.
Yeah, I did a show recently, a couple of months ago, with Mary Rodwell, and we talked about the Star Children, who are basically they're born with these abilities. They're born with like full memories, past lives, and these abilities, but they're also targeted by these military programs because of that as well. Because the military want to know, how are these people getting these abilities, and they want to basically weaponize their abilities.
And I should have clarified that, right? So I'm going to be 52 in September. So my age group would be like the indigo form of star seed. And we are exploited for those abilities coming in with past life memories. I mean, my past life memory started as a little toddler, with a blonde-headed, toe-headed blonde boy, swimming under, being able to breathe under the water. So, we don't know what these abilities are, but I helped several parents, even in my own community, with their own little starseed children. I mean, my own daughter was born with these intense abilities, so they do get exploited. I think the programs on my age group and older than me were more physical, whereas the younger super soldiers are used on an astral or dream time level versus, my age group, like Randy Moggins, Duncan O'Finian. I think Max is a little bit younger. I mean, he's like 11 years younger. My age group has more of the physical trauma than the astral kind of trauma. Yeah. So we get exploited. And military do use people who have these abilities. Now, mind you, anybody on the planet can be trained to remote view. You don't need to be a psychic to remote view. They can take an average, ordinary person. In fact, most who are remote viewers started out as average, normal people.
Yeah, you can go online to the Farsight Institutes. I've been following them for a number of years, and they actually teach people how to remote view.
Yeah, they have a different technique. I think one of the newer techniques that they teach. I think there's a branch off of the Farsight Institute that also teaches a different form of what I was taught is controlled remote viewing, and then there's HRV. Then there's two or three other forms of remote viewing. You know, I think you're right, Taj. So many starseeds get exploited. They're MELAB, the military laboratory experiments. They're harvested for those abilities. But these starseeds have something. These children, these teens, even these young adults, and it's really a sparkling beauty about them, and gorgeous. You know, I think it's gorgeous to have that sparkling beauty. You know, those big, gigantic eyes and this zest for joy.
Sorry, I'm just getting some messages on my Skype. Apparently, somebody else is getting all the calls that we're supposed to be getting.
Oh.
I'm sorry about that. Someone's just messaging me saying I'm getting loads of calls from people. I've got no idea why. So, yeah, technical problems.
I wrote in the phone number 347-688.
Yeah, someone's forwarded the number to the wrong person. They were supposed to forward it to me, but someone else is getting the calls. So I don't know if anyone's listening in the host chat who can redirect the forward to my Skype. But we'll move on to the next question. This is a topic I do want to cover in the second hour. It's about Max. Spears. The question is actually, what are your thoughts on Max Spears? How can we cloak ourselves and increase our spiritual protection, shielding and defense when targeted people like Max and many others have basically died? So, I mean, Max was he had abilities and he was able to shield himself and protect himself, but in the end, it didn't help him. So if people like Max, can be killed, then what sort of chance do others stand?
In respect for young Sarah, whom I admire greatly, and Max's mom, Vanessa, excuse me, I feel Max was surrounded by very dangerous people. Had he not been around those people, I fully believe he would be alive today. I believe Max could have protected himself had he not been around those people, and he did try to get away from those people, unfortunately, unsuccessfully. Now, the way to learn protection and shielding protocols is to first learn about energy. Learn about the way how energy works. Learn what it is. Learn those many different forms of energy, internal energy, like I first spoke about in the first half of the show, and external energy. Once you get used to those forms of energy, you can know how to clean the energy. You can either take classes with me, or you can go to, excuse me, it's a terrible allergies. There's a man named Cameron Day who is very inexpensive like myself. He teaches similar to me, but I teach a little different. Some things very different, but we're pretty much the same. Learn energy cleaning, learn shielding protocols, learn how to master yourself, the self-healing on the level of your mind, your thoughts, the patterns, the chatter, the thought forms, your weaknesses in your behavior, your emotions. If you can master yourself, you can conquer so many of these attacks, whether it's black magic, gang stalking, even electronic harassment. There is answers for everything, whether it's internal herbs and detoxification programs, frequency tones, or my 5 foundations. There is always going to be a way. Now, I believe Max the people surrounded themselves around Max. Max was obviously trying to get away. So
Oh, I think we have a call. I think we have a call coming in. Just bear with me a second.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello, it's the person I want. I got through finally.
Hi, how are you? What's your name?
I'm Helen.
Hi, Helen.
Yeah.
What's your question for Jolene?
Well, I don't have a question. I really would like a little dialogue.
All right. Okay. Yeah, we're just having a chat and taking questions from the chat room at the moment.
No, you're taking more than Jay. You're taking more than just questions. Let's explore a little broader area, and of someone who has extensively done extensive work.
Well, what do you want to talk about?
What do you want to talk about, Helen?
Well, I just hi, Jolene. I've done extensive work on myself, and I first of all I did individual, and I did individual for 18 months. It was a real gift. And then they saw through me that I had a real desire to make a change, not only for myself but for the world. And so I went into group therapy. In group, I was very fortunate because within that environment, there were people from a young girl who was a prostitute, to a girl who had to give up her baby because she had an abortion, to myself that was my passion was taken away from me because I wasn't strong in who I was and didn't know who I was, and to engineers, to dentists, a real array or mosaic of the whole of our community, of our neighborhood, say. I don't like to use the word community because that is associated with often communism. Okay. So that's the group, the type of environment we had. And in that group, we only had secondary people if we couldn't get to the issue as individuals to help our friends, our neighbors. In addition to this, we would have, say, 10-15 minutes break every in the morning when we had after an hour or so. We did not know each other's last names. We could not, on the step when some people were smoking or whatever, we would, if we brought up something that was held in group, we were called forward by somebody, who had the courage to, inside group saying, okay, so-and-so spoke about this, and this is, and this was not allowed, so this, it was not it was love and compassion, but we really learned boundaries, which a lot of people do not understand.
I agree,
and
Helen.
I see that, and I've had friends that have been in group where they, on the weekends they get to know each other, where they get to know their their last names, where they can phone somebody and say, "Oh, I'm not feeling good for the day."
Helen, can I interrupt you? What are you trying to portray that I could help answer for you?
Yeah, do you have a specific question?
Well, I'm just saying the importance of real grounding before going even into spirituality. The importance of articulation, of communication, of knowing who you are. And after that, after I completed group, then I went into the spirituality and the energy healing.
Okay, so let me stop you right there. So what I teach is something called foundations.
Yes,
foundations are based on boundaries and principles, ethics, virtues, everything to establish boundaries in the individual. We can't take baby steps until we learn how to crawl, right? We can't walk until we crawl first, stand up, fall down. When I teach these foundations, we're talking exactly about that. Boundaries are extremely important. Ethics are so valuable. We cannot go forward as a spiritual being without knowing principles or boundaries. So yes, it's really about my foundation work and the counseling principles that I bring into people. I also teach women these boundaries and men these boundaries because many targets, many program survivors, many victims of rape and abuse, they have never been brought up in families that have had boundaries, principles, or ethics. So it is
I'd have to say that most professionals, including doctors, lawyers, teachers, preachers, don't even have boundaries correct. Because in their systems are not often, they're based on often what not on boundaries.
Well, I'm not those people, so
it's systems that seem to be so broken.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And that's why self-healing is so important, because we're healing these very roots of ourselves. How to trust ourselves, how to learn to communicate with one another, how to learn to express yourself from your throat chakra, how to express those feelings that are so unruly. If we do not have parameters or even a root structure, how can we develop that healing? So for me, I'm not like a psychologist. I don't use textbook anything. This is all based on soul, mind, and heart's will. It's based on growing in small steps, addressing the thoughts, addressing the weaknesses, the anxieties, the behavior, and finding why and explaining, maybe teaching that person a whole new system of ethic code in a lot of cases. Some people don't even know their sexuality. They can't express it. We give the opportunity per person on a personal level, whether that person needs to learn their own sexuality again because they've never had any boundaries or principles in place. So this is very different.
I found that modeling, not necessarily from, you say the two people that were, in the room, and then once a week somebody would come in who was a head director, who had skills that were, that modeled like Jesus, or somebody who is at an extreme. He came from India, and yes, he certainly didn't do textbook stuff. He went over and he could go beyond, and yet still stayed in the system that would not would not want this type of person helping 18 people every day.
Helen, we have some more callers trying to get through. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you, Jolene, and thanks, Jay. Bye-bye.
Tad, yeah, thanks. Thanks, Helen. Hi, Jolene. Yeah, we were talking about, what were we talking about before? Oh, yeah, Max Spears. I'm just going to wait for another call to come in. But yeah, you can call in on that number now. It's now working, as you probably realized.
Yeah, that's a very important thing she brought up. I didn't understand what she was talking about at first, but these boundaries are so important. I teach people something called 6 heartfelt virtues. It teaches the people how to express and communicate so effectively. Based on these virtues alone, the first is appreciation. It's learning to appreciate anybody for whatever level that person is in. The second would be understanding, putting that person's shoes on and wearing their shoes and understanding. And this is whether it's positive or negative. The third would be compassion, having compassion. Maybe you've been through that level that person is at, or experienced something that person has experienced. The fourth is humility, being able to apologize, being able to accept self-responsibility. The fifth is forgiveness, being able to forgive someone who might have harmed you because you do have appreciation and understanding for where they're at. And the sixth and final thing is called valor, and that's having the strength in all those virtues, as well as the balance state in yourself to carry yourself through any form form of communication, whether you're expressing or listening. So boundaries and principles are exceedingly important. And, this is soul level healing, soul healing.
Okay. Let me just give out the number again if you want to call in. That's 347-688-2902. That's the number to call into Studio A, and we can take your question on air. I've got another question from the chat room. The next question is, what do you do, Jolene, for higher DNA activation? Yours is high, but obviously one can go higher. Simple things. I like to correct food and spinning and singing. Are there any others that you can think of?
Yes, these frequency tones I refer to as chakra tones. You can sing frequency tones. You can ingest monoatomic golds. You should clean your digestive system. Detoxify your digestive system. It will help your pineal gland. I do not believe in galactic activations. Maybe somebody says, "Oh, okay, there's a planetary event. You get to have a galactivation." I think the individual must work for their ascension. It's everything from meditating to learning to control your anger, learning to control like road rage or jealousy or envy. Your DNA gets activated on a structural level by the mitochondrial and the cells changing as well. How do you do that? You do it through your neurological process. The brain emits these chemicals called peptides, and the peptides feed every cell in your mitochondrial and everything inside your body. Your thoughts give your cells and DNA the same memory. So if you're thinking negative, like the majority of people do, the average person thinks between 40 to 200,000 times a day. 90% of those thoughts, 95 even, are negative. So all of that negative talk in your brain, the thoughts, are feeding your cells and mitochondrial. If you want to change the thought process, the levels of rage, jealousy, envy, whatever, chattering even, this will change the cellular structure. You have got hundreds of trillions of cells that you can molecularly change with your own positive thoughts. So when a negative thought comes in, talk back to it. Talk diametrically opposite to that thought. You can drink water, sacred water. Sacred, that water, I don't call it blessed because it's etymology based, and I think blessings is blessings. So make your water sacred. Study some work from Dr. Masaru Emoto. Sacredize your water. Activate your cells with EZ water. That's EZ, exclusion zone water. You can add gold. You can use certain crystals. You can tape like Herkimer diamonds behind your ears or on your pineal gland. You can use purple skeletal cords for your pineal gland. There's so many ways to raise your frequencies. But in order to change mitochondrial DNA, you've got to work on the neurological, because the neurological chemical feeds those cells and your DNA. So it begins at the brain and the heart's will. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. There's no more questions from the chat at the moment, but there is a topic I wanted to cover with sort of links to that. It's about how do you, what type of protection techniques can you use from things like psychic attacks, even things like witchcraft, black magic, whatever you want to label them. So if someone like casts a spell on you, someone hexes you, how do you protect yourself from that?
Well, the first thing I want to tell everybody is if you go and buy something at a store or a yard sale, for instance, before you bring it into your house, cleanse that object. I don't care if it's brand new or not. Cleanse the object, remove all the attachments off of it. Learn energy cleaning. There are so many ways to protect yourself and clean your energy. If you're going to use sage, make sure you study the Native Americans and sacredize the sage before you light it. make sure you use it directionally. You can use salt and rubbing alcohol candles. You can use water, salt, and vinegar mixtures. You can use plain glasses of water. You can use water sprays. You can learn energy self-defense from me. You can, if somebody's hexing you, you'll know what's going on. You have to know the object that's hexed or the area of your home that's being hexed or what's being hexed. Once you can identify what that hex is, you can break it down, remove the attachments, clean the energy, claim your sovereignty, and put shielding in place. The more you clean your energy and claim sovereignty and use shielding, the less you're prone to attacks. Attacks will even roll off of you. They won't affect you. So it's really learning. I believe the key is in cleaning your energy, and I've been teaching it through a 10-step energy cleaning system, through using opposing frequencies, through sacred water, through a therapy I call peptide pep talk, which is self-talk, specific dialogue used with different types of brain waves, and you keep changing the brain waves, but it's done in a progression. And also to learn something about dream time training. Now I teach a class on dream time training. Individual spends the majority of their life sleeping. I mean, we're asleep more sometimes than we are awake. We spend half of our lives sleeping. During the sleep time, we're dreaming. We're in bardo levels, astral levels. We're above and below. If a person's being abducted, for instance, wouldn't you want the power to say, no, not going to take me? Or, if somebody is harming you in your dream, don't you want the ability to have strength? So I would recommend everybody clean their pineal gland, clean your body, meditate, and learn how to clean your energy so you can learn to bring your consciousness into the dream time state. So you have authority there. Because when your body dies off, when your physical body dies off, your soul then leaves. Your soul consists of a part of your consciousness and your life force, part of your heart's will. And that's what's going to move on. So if I'm strengthening my consciousness and my ability in my dream time levels, when my body dies off, I'm hoping at least that I'll have more power to say, no, I'm not going to be reincarnated again. I'm going home to source.
Are there any websites or books where people can go to for protection techniques or anything?
Sure, there's plenty of books in a bookstore. I'm kind of self-taught just by my life and experiences. I know there's some authors out there. I believe there's books on psychic protection. I think the World Wide Web could help. I'm currently writing a book, Taj. I did get a publisher who has interest in me. I'm still writing the book. It's going to be like a manual. You'll be able to turn to any chapter and have something to use for protection, for cleansing. So, I'm putting this thing together. There are hundreds of things out there, folks. We're not lost here.
Yeah.
We're powerful.
Okay, I've got another question coming. This is actually something we were talking about the other day, Jolene. So the question is, what does she think about the upcoming eclipses? So this is next month. There is a lunar eclipse on the 7th of August, and then there's the big one, the solar eclipse across the US on the 21st of August. What do you think of the significance, or what, do you think anything will happen around these eclipses?
I just did a show with Terry Joyce on Tuesday. It is about Chris Cornell and the black hole sun, this solar eclipse on the 21st. I can't add into the lunar eclipse because I haven't really been doing much work in that. Since Chris died, I just dabbled a little bit into the gematria of it and the black hole sun. What the black hole sun represents, this total eclipse, it represents the Eye of Providence and that triangle in the middle of Orion. In the center of that those three stars are what's called the vortex. It's known as the creation of souls, where souls are created and where souls go when they die. I did an extensive kind of interview with Terry that would better explain it. In the time that we have, I wouldn't be able to explain it very well, but I do believe this solar eclipse event is being used to either implement something with the New World Order to secure famine, war, and angry nations to come together to really try to finish us off. But we're a strong, awakened community or neighborhood, as Helen said. We, no matter how bleak things look or scary things seem, we still have our own capability to not succumb to this evil. And even if we die in the process, we have our souls. They can try to get our minds, they can try to get our depression, but they will never take your soul. And they can't take your mind and your heart if you don't let them. Now, this lunar eclipse, I couldn't give an honest answer, and I'm terribly sorry. But if anybody wants to study the black hole sun, this solar eclipse, you can pull up the Terry Joyce interview. It's labeled Chris Cornell. It was done on July 25th of this year. Or you can look at a wonderful video by Danny Wilton called Black Hole Sun, S-O-N. And it will really explain what Orion and that center vortex of creation is to bring in the war, the famine, and the angry nations on the 21st. These elites have been planning this for 99 years. So it's going to be a big event, big Satanist event.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was reading an article today about it, and there'll actually be a black sunrise. So the sun rising, will be actually black because the eclipse will already have happened as the sun rises. So it'll be a very unique event. And
Taj, this hasn't happened in 99 years. They have been planning this for 99 years. So, these are brilliant people hiding ancient scribe from us and books and knowledge. These are brilliant, evil executors of these evil plans. So I do believe this scary event on the 21st, what we all must do is go into a sacredness in ourselves. Even if you have to jump in a bathtub or a pool all day to stay high vibratory. So what people do for prayer, I ritually rhyme. You must stay in the highest vibratory. Do not talk smack talk. Don't gossip or complain. Stay elevated, people. Speak prayers for humanity and mankind. Speak beautiful words to prevent whatever these evil creeps are trying to do to us to bring in the famine, the war, and the angry nations. Look into those videos, either the Chris Cornell one with Terry Joyce or Danny Wilton's Black Hole Sun. I urge people to stay high vibratory that entire several days, including the eclipse day and the lunar eclipse as well, because I'm certain it's all part of it. They use gematria. They use the Fibonacci ratio, which is God's number language. I call it the fib of chi, the lie of stealing energy. We must use our power to vibrate excessively high through August 21st.
Is that that date, August 21st, is that a satanic ritual abuse date? Do you know?
Let me see. Hold on, and I'll tell you really quick. I believe it is, Taj. Let me just pull up the calendar. Let's see. No, the 24th is St. Bartholomew's Day, but I'm only looking at one calendar. Look, these Satanists have been planning this for 99 years. This is an unusual event, like you said, rising black sun, setting black sun. Please look at the Danny Wilton video at least, folks. It's only about 37 minutes. It will explain everything to you about that event. For these New World Order elite, evil Draco Anunnaki to bring in and try to secure their Agenda 21. That is my theory. Now, we can denounce this. We can hold vibratory fields for the matrix, for your brothers and sisters, even your enemies. Love them. Pity these Satanists. Forgive them. Offer love. Do whatever we can to mess up their energy with our beauty.
Do you see like anything happening later this year? I mean, this sort of happens like every year where people come up with dates, the things that are going to happen. I mean, I've heard on the eclipse that there's going to be some kind of civil disobedience or civil war break out in the US, or around that date. And then I've also heard something about September 23rd being another date where things are going to happen. But this happens every year. Are you worried about anything this year in particular?
No, we can't see what happens. And anybody who proclaims X is going to happen on Z date or whatever, have we ever seen it? We didn't see it with 2012. I mean, look, it will come in like a thief in the night. We don't see the energy happening. So the spell casting takes place. False flags go up. I don't worry about dates, folks. It's just causes more anxiety, and it's feeding the negative. So I wouldn't go by those prophesized dates.
Okay. We've got one last question. I think we're going to finish in about 5 minutes, but this is the last question. Some of the information is not meant for many to digest. How do we awaken the masses, or do we just connect like minds and awaken those that want to learn?
That's a great question, too. Now, everybody says, oh, it's so difficult to wake people up. What I suggest is this. When you meet someone, or you're talking to a neighbor or a sibling, for instance, you want to ask them, what are their passions? What do they wish they could have done all their lives? Maybe that person wanted to be in architecture. Maybe the person wanted to be an actress. When you can find out what their passions are, like in architecture, show them a video on Secrets in Plain Sight, for instance, which will show architecture, which will show geometry, which will show him or her to awaken. Show them reality. It can wake that person up. Maybe the person wanted to be an actress. Show them some videos on, the Illuminati and mind control victims. You can really be creative on how to wake people up. It doesn't have to be shattering either. Do it gently. Maybe somebody is really active about, passionate about 9/11. Maybe introduce them to U.S. patents and documents on sound weaponry and what might have taken those towers down. You can do this gently and without anger, without arguing, without somebody calling you crazy. Just by finding out what that person loves, what their passions are, what their interests or hobbies are, there will always be some kind of truth media video about it, or website, won't there?
Yeah, that's true, but you've also got to have some kind of I say, how much time do you waste trying to wake someone up? They'll either get it or they won't get it after a while, and you can sort of continue to try and spend time trying to wake people up, but after weeks or months and you're still not getting anywhere, I think you have to realize that some people are not going to wake up. They may wake up to certain things, but to truly awaken, you have to realize the big picture. I don't think a lot of people see the big picture.
Well, that would be scary. That would shatter their whole reality. That would shatter their religion and their faith. It would shatter their structure on how they eat food or take medicines or give vaccines to their children, or to even know about the missing children and the Satanism. That might be a good place to start, because everybody cares about missing children and children being exploited. That's a wonderful topic to bring up, and actually that is the topic that should be brought up, is missing and exploited children. Even in the United States, each state statistics don't even match the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I mean, there is a big lie going on. So maybe start out with that, with missing children. Why are there so many missing, unfound children? And why do statistics differ from country to this national organization representing these children? Why are they lying? So, and bring up the Franklin cover-up or the Hampstead cover-up or the thing that happened in Amsterdam recently. Maybe awaken them about the children. Everybody's interested in children, and it can't be denounced. That might be the answer. Start with the kids.
Yeah, good idea. We're going to finish any minute now. Do you want to give out like your contact information if people want to work with you, or they're looking for someone, you know, to help them? How do they contact you?
Okay, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm sorry we missed beautiful Nisa. I'm so honored to be on Divine Truth. Right now, my contact is only through Facebook. I'm having a website rebuilt from 2008 that's too old. JoJo Seebacher, Seebacher. You can private message me and ask for session work. There's no need to write your whole story out because it almost looks like one big paragraph, and I'm only going to ask you again in a session. We'll be answering my private messages after August 3rd. I'm just a little exhausted right now, and I had to take personal time off. I will be counseling and teaching again in September. I usually have a 1 to 3 month waiting list. Right now, it's about 2.5 months. I do have fill-in and emergency appointments available, but private messenger for the time being. I will answer after August 3rd through Facebook.
Okay, so it's mainly Facebook. I'll put all the links in the YouTube video when that's posted in a few days. If anyone wants to listen to that, it's on my YouTube channel, Taj Investigates. All of my shows on the Divine Truth, and a lot of Sarah's stuff as well is also on my channel on YouTube.
Oh, and thank you to Miss Sarah Adams, beautiful gal you. Thank you, and I'm sorry I missed you and Nisa today. I adore you all, and I'm very gracious for you guys bringing me on. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for coming on, Jolie. I'm sorry it took so long to get you on the show, but I've been, you know, I've been busy with guests and work and all kinds of things. So
busy.
Okay, well,
God bless you all.
That's the end of the show, and thank you again, JoJo, for coming on. And good night, everyone, or good afternoon, or good morning, wherever you are.
And
take care, everyone. Good night.
Good night.